It's my pleasure to welcome you at Finance Watch 12th event in Brussels. Finance Watch is growing, and in particular today we are growing into a new territory with our first position paper on pensions. You'll find the executive summary and the recommendations right outside the room. I really encourage you to go also on our website and download the report, go through it. I was quite impressed, I have to say, by my colleague Christian Stiefmüller, and the fact he managed to make a very pleasant to read paper, although some of the issues are quite technical. You'll also see it's full of quite stunning and somewhat worrying facts, I'm afraid. You might have heard rumors about the Commission releasing their personal pensions legislation proposal today. And so I'm sorry to disappoint you, but we've asked them to postpone a bit their release so we get maximum visibility for ours. Of course, that's a joke. They'll be releasing their paper in 2 days, on Thursday. More seriously, it's actually fitting for us that the documents will be published in that sequence, as is our mandate, and because we're entering this field, we look at a broad range of issues related to pensions from a public interest perspective, so the perspective of citizens, of consumers. We look at why should citizens care, what are the different policy challenges. So we take quite a broad picture. Of course, part of that framework will be Pillar 3, on which the Commission proposal will focus, but we take a wider perspective. We're delighted to have two Commission officials, Nathalie Berger and John Berrigan, we were told today he will replace Olivier Gerson later this afternoon, and they'll both share some of the Commission views on these issues. Now, for the anecdote, I'm lucky I still have my parents, and I've been telling them over the last few years that basically the way I see it, they are the most privileged generation that mankind has probably ever seen. And the way things are going, and from my perspective, and I'm quite in a good place, relatively speaking, it might be it's just the most privileged generation mankind has ever known. Period. Right? It seems like we've passed this edge of the curve where every generation would have it better in terms of purchase power and consumption and so on. We're in a different place now, and it's quite challenging. I think we're right at the top, or actually from my perspective, and looking at how good they have it, I think we definitely passed that top. So the way we provide for retirement is changing, and it is definitely a huge challenge. One of the facts that we highlight in the report is the ratio of people in work versus the people drawing a pension. Today it's 4-to-1. In 60 years, so basically when my kids will be looking at retirement, it'll be 2-to-1. So that's a drastic change in a very short time frame. So things obviously need to change. Now, I'm sorry to say, and I think we've seen that over the last few years, this demographic challenge is often used as an excuse or as a blank check for austerity and for welfare privatization. So we discussed that a bit in the paper. So I think we have to be careful that the aim here is to avoid one of the issues, which is old age poverty. By not acting or by acting in the wrong way, we will actually increase that risk of poverty. And we all know that inequalities, including across generations, certainly plays a role in the rise of some political movement we don't always welcome, and some of the bad surprises we've seen in electoral terms over the last few years. Thus, we encourage policymakers in Europe, but also at national level, having different competencies, to be ambitious, to look at a wide range of options to respond to these challenges. We look at the 3 pillars in our paper. We do see exciting developments. You also see the discussion around universal basic income, actually not just a concept, but something that is trialed in different places in the world. We see other financial and policy innovation that might create options that haven't been discussed before, so we welcome that. And some of these opportunities will be discussed later this afternoon. Now, a last theme I'd like to touch on is the nature of these investments. So the key issue, very topical these days in Brussels and elsewhere, of sustainability. We're not focusing on that in this initial report on pensions, but we are growingly involved in that debate. You'll see we're recruiting senior staff in that area. I'll be speaking at the Commission hearing on 18 July on sustainable finance, and in fact it will be the theme of our conference on 6 December, if you want to save the date already. But so the point is, it's not just making sure your pension money is safe and you get reasonable returns, it's also the sort of future we are building with these investments. So again, we're at the heart of this intergenerational discussion, I think. Is our pension money financing a centralized fossil fuel economy that is generating short-term returns for the few, or are we using this money to support a decentralized, carbon-neutral, resilient economy that makes a different world for our kids to live in, a planet that is livable and where everyone has their chance. So before I hand over to Christian, who will go over the highlights of the paper he just wrote, I want to thank our distinguished speakers for traveling here, but also for helping us to prepare the event. I want to help the Friedrich Ebert Stiftung Brussels office for co-sponsoring this event, as they've done several times in the past. And last but not least, I want to thank the staff who's been working hard to prepare this event. I'm in front of you now, but they've been doing and still doing the hard work. So ladies and gentlemen, please enjoy the conference. Thank you.